Welcome back to ISNet study. And this is Decode Ethics through Current Affairs. Here we are going to integrate the dynamic aspect, that is current affairs, with your static part. Static part is a GS4, whatever the concepts that I mentioned in your syllabus, we are going to integrate that. So decode ethics through current affairs. And here in this video, we are going to discuss the current affairs from May 2nd to May 10th. So let's get into the discussion of this. The first article, it is with respect to Marathi imposition. If you look at the news article, the Maharashtra government, they've taken a decision that it is mandatory for taxi and auto drivers to have a knowledge of Marathi. They should be in a position to converse in a Marathi. So that is the condition here. So Marathi imposition, it is language imposition, that is from a broader perspective. Because if you look at the Bangalore, there also this issue is there, and even Tamil Nadu, this issue is there, and even other states also. Somewhere once in a while we hear these kind of things. So here it is language imposition. From that perspective, let us discuss this. And I'm not going to discuss the contents of this news article. We are going to link it with ethics concepts only. And so, what are the ethical issues here in this news article? The first and foremost aspect is that the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, the Maharashtrian government, they've taken a decision that we are going to take a step, and that step, it is going to preserve the Marathi language and culture. So, one side, I am a Chief Minister of the state, and I've taken a decision to preserve and to protect the language, to protect the culture. This is one side, and there is a counter argument to it. And what is the counter argument? Here, see, I have migrated, you have migrated to this particular state, and you want to find a livelihood opportunity here, but I don't speak the language, you don't speak the language. Now, one side I am imposing a language, another side you want to find a livelihood, and you have that freedom also. Even the constitution gives that freedom. So because of this imposition, it is going to curtail your freedom. So your freedom is impacted because of this decision. One side I want to preserve the language, another side, because of my decision, your freedom is curtailed. So this is one ethical issue. And the second ethical issue is that one side, see, because of the local language, it is comfortable for the local residents, because people from the other state, they've learned this language and they're communicating in the local language, and it makes localites, the conversation, the communication, it is quite easy. So practicality, from a practical perspective, yes, it is going to help the people. That is one side. Another side, if a person does not know this language, or if he takes some time to learn this language, in that period of time, the migrant is going to lose that livelihood opportunity. See, the person has been migrated from some other state for the basic necessities, for the fulfillment of the basic necessities of this life. And because of this imposition, or because of this decision, it is going to impact us livelihood. In the first point, it is impacting the freedom. In the second point, it is impacting the livelihood opportunities. And in the third point, migrant has come to this particular place who is not aware of this language. Here the main objective is for the survival of himself, survival of his family. You want to support the family, again, existence for the basic necessity of a survival. That is one thing. Another side, by imposing or making this as mandatory, you are undermining certain value system, you are undermining compassion, you are undermining empathy. So, compromising empathy, there is a factor of intolerance, and you're undermining compassion. But another side, objective of a person who is migrating to this place is for the survival, is to protect his family, is to provide the basic necessities of the family. Again, this another ethical issue here. And another here is that one side, it is going to improve the passenger convenience. So for local people, for them, it would be better if you converse in their language. So one side, passenger convenience, another side, individual freedom. So individual autonomy, individual passenger convenience. This is another ethical issue. And then the step taken is to protect the regional culture. So this is ethical step, I can agree with that. But at the same time, it looks like linguistic intolerance, because I'm not happy, or there is no acceptance factor if you don't know this language, or if you're not aware of this language. So one side there is a linguistic intolerance, another side there is a step to protect the local culture, regional culture, and it sounds ethical. But when in the comparison, it creates Ethical dilemma is a situation where whatever the option you choose, you're going to compromise some or other value system. So these are some of the ethical issues. These are some of the ethical dilemmas we see in these kind of imposition. So this is one thing. Now, what is the solution to it, and what are the ethical solutions or the way forward? How do you deal with these kind of situations? The first and foremost aspect is that it is, since this article is with respect to Marathi, I am using the word Marathi here, but you can replace it with other Kannada or Tamil, Malayalam, whatever the issue, whatever the question with respect. And here it is free training, free language training. Here you are taking a very strict actions. Rather than this kind of punitive measures, you can go for a ethical way. What is the ethical way? You can provide free Marathi training, and it is a win-win situation. Even for a migrant, it is an opportunity to learn the language, and it somewhere it is going to support that integration factor. So providing free training instead of uh, punitive measures, this is one thing, one ethical solution. And then is give some transition period, give some 6 months or 8 months, some period where the person can learn the basic language, basic at least the conversational skills can be picked up with this period of time. So you can give some reasonable transition period. This is also one of the practical steps can be implemented. And then encourage multilingualism rather than linguistic exclusivity. Of course, it's India. The constitution, it supports that freedom of work. So if these kind of language intolerance or exclusivity, if it increases around the country, this goes against the constitutional values, and this goes against the constitution morality and ethos. So how do you deal with that? You encourage multilingualism. So language exclusivity can be dealt with multilingualism. And then balance the regional pride and national unity. Again, the son of soil, these kind of concepts are there. One side, yes, I want to protect my culture, it is fine. At the same time, the integration of India, the integration, the national integrate, the concept of national integration, national unity is also very much important. Protection of local culture, regional pride, there should be a balance with national integrity, national identity. So balance that. So that is another ethical solution. Then comes focus on at least minimum basic conversational skills. These are necessary for public services, because see, if these kind of the taxi or the auto, it usually deals with the public, the local people. And learning the basic conversational skills or the basic things where you could able to converse with other person, it is come in handy. It is, these are the public services, and it helps you in turn. There is a win-win situation, and in turn this will lead to social harmony. So focus on basic conversational Marathi for public service efficiency. These are some of the ethical solutions, right? This is with respect to language imposition, Marathi, very precisely Marathi imposition in this, with respect to this article. And the next article, if you look at it, Dalit women workers raise voice against exploitation and bribery. So this is the news article, but we'll see this news article from a broader perspective: workers exploitation. So what are the ethical issues here in the workers exploitation? Your exploitation and also bribery. So it also talks about corruption and exploitation. Let's see what are the ethical issues and how do you deal. Right, again, I'm not going to focus on this here. What happens in the New Delhi, nearly 150 Dalit women, uh, they have come together and they have given their grievances regarding the abuse of power, regarding how they have been treated, and regarding corruption, bribery, all these. That is a news article, but from a larger perspective, this deals with the workers' exploitation. So, what are the ethical challenges here? The first and foremost is that it is clear injustice. Very clear injustice is visible because you are using your status to create some kind of harm. See, every person has some rights. Even constitution has given fundamental, basic fundamental rights to every individual. And these exploitation, these kind of corruption, this goes against the values or the ethos of fundamental rights. So it clearly it is leading to injustice. Injustice for the first ethical challenge. The second ethical challenge is abuse of power. And here the people in a higher position, hierarchically higher. If you look at the hierarchy, the people who are on top of these workers, they are abusing their power and they are misusing their power. And these Dalit women, they cannot do anything. They are in the state of helplessness. Now they've come together and they've raised their voice. It clearly shows that the people in the higher hierarchy, they are misusing their power, they are abusing their power. So another ethical challenge is abuse of power and loss of accountability. Because see, the in that hierarchy, the higher rank official, it is they are uh, accountable and they are responsible for the people who are working below. They should take care of them. So if there is a grievance, they have to address it, they have to take care of it. But here it clearly shows they are not accountable, they are not responsive, and there is no compassion or empathy. So loss of accountability, loss of empathy, loss of compassion, and loss of response. That is another ethical challenge. Then it is clearly a violation of human rights. You are exploiting another human being. Keep all these things aside, they are working below you, under you, and they are see, they have to report you. You are the higher authority. All these things are separate. But on the whole, if you are, it's clearly a case of exploitation. It is clearly a case of violation of human rights. So the basic human rights every individual has in our country, it is clear violation. You are exploiting their position, you are creating the situation of helplessness to these women, Dalit workers here. That is another ethical challenge. Then again, it is against constitutional morality and constitutional ethos, the basic fundamental rights. It has given rights to every individual of our country, and even it is a responsibility of a state to maintain dignity of individual. So DPSP has given direction to the state also regarding what to do and what not to do. And clearly neither DPSP have been, the values have been upholded, or the values of fundamental rights have been respected. So this goes against the constitutional morality. Then comes suppression of labor rights. These are the labor, the daily wage laborers, and they also have certain rights apart from these fundamental rights, legal rights. They have certain labor rights also. Even abusing them, exploiting them, it clearly goes against the labor rights. So it is a suppression of labor rights. And even if you look at the international, the labor organization has also standard labor codes and norms. This goes, whether it is corruption or exploitation, this goes against these international codes also. India is been a signatory of some of the conventions of ILO, so this goes against that also. So suppression of labor rights. And it is a regressive work culture. So you need to have a ethical work culture. Even work culture is also one of the topics in your syllabus. So this goes against the good or ethical work culture. This is a regressive work culture. And see, work culture should be so much positive that I would love to come again and work in this organization. If work culture is so negative and regressive, it is output from my side, it won't be good. I'm not happy working there. So environment is so toxic. So it is regressive working culture. And again, it we talked about injustice from a social perspective, individual perspective. Yes, it is injustice, and even from a social perspective, this is going to weaken the social justice. So you, this inequality, this partiality, this bias, this kind of exploitation, this is going to question the social justice. This is going to weaken the social justice. So these are some of the ethical challenges of the aspect that are mentioned in this news article, the workers exploitation. And these are ethical challenges we can derive out of this news. And next, what are the ethical solutions? How do you deal with it? So whatever the challenges you saw here, the same, you give an answer, you give a solution to them. The first and foremost is that ethical education and ethical value based training. So when you, usually there will be a training. If I join some work, there will be training initially, the basic training. If the company or organization makes these kind of training ethical, these kind of training or value based, so we can ensure value based behavior also. This is going to impact the behavior of employees in the company also, from every this thing, status, group A, group B, group C, group C, everybody will be ensuring these value based behavior in their conduct. So ethical education and value based training, this is one ethical solution. And another thing is, the article talks about corruption also. It talks about bribery, exploitation. So here, even citizen awareness is also very much important. So encourage the citizen awareness. If something is wrong, if I see something is wrong, if I am ethically aware, if I have these value system in me, I'm going to question. I am going to raise my voice against it. I make sure that justice is served. So encourage citizen awareness. This is one thing. And also, there is a social apathy towards corruption. There is an acceptance factor for the corruption in our country. See, that social the silent acceptance, or the kind of social the tolerance, you have to question them. You have to create social intolerance towards corruption. you have to ensure that this is not right. So see, if there is a murder, or if there is some kind of the, the rape or this kind of thing, there is a, it is considered as very heinous crimes, and even society is not going to take very easily. But if there is a case of corruption, you might have seen that so many politicians, they have been convicted in court of law with respect to corruption, and they've come out and their proxies have contested in the election, they've won the election also. Clearly shows that there is a tolerance towards corruption in our country, and you need to create awareness to question this social tolerance. So there should be a social intolerance towards corruption. Then comes ethical leadership. Yata Raja Tata Praja. So, how exactly the leader in an organization is going to impact the workers who are working in the organization also, and eventually this is going to impact the citizens also. So, ethical leadership is also very much important to change these kind of behavior, to change these kind of unethical, unethical behavior conduct. And then ethical work culture. In the last slide we talked about regressive negative work culture, and change it into ethical work culture, and you can ensure the value based behavior or value based conduct. And then there are some tools and mechanism you can use it to curb these kind of exploitation and bribery. What are these? Public, in turn, all these things, public audit, RTI, social audit, all these things, it talks about one value system, that is transparency. If there is a transparency, it ensures accountability. If there is accountability, it ensures responsibility. So it ensures responsible behavior in an organization. So these are some of the ethical solutions for the workers' exploitation. Let's move to the next article. The next article, it's an editorial where fixing structural deficits in Indian health system. So again, what we are going to focus is Indian health system. So, what are the ethical issues in the Indian health system, and how to deal with it? Way forward for these ethical problems. So, let's get into the discussion of these. And again, I'm not going to discuss the news article. Only thing we are going to focus is that ethical issues, ethical aspects of Indian health system. So, what are the ethical issues here? The first is inequality. Inequality in what? Accessibility, affordability, and quality. It's not same for every individual in a, it depends. Most of these healthcare systems are because of this all private hospital, private healthcare setup. The base is that affordability, the base is that the financial capability to get these kind of services. So in turn, it shows that there is an inequality in access to the healthcare system. So first ethical issues is inequality. Inequality, it means like there is a challenge in accessibility, there is a challenge in affordability, there is a challenge in. Then comes commercialization of healthcare. See, in the last video, we were talking about ethical issues in Indian education system. The same thing again: commercialization of education, commercialization of healthcare system. The more you money you pay, the better services you get. So it has become service oriented. It's like more the better the money, the better the service. Commercialization of healthcare. It is the value should be the care or compassion. The duty of care should be the core value, but here it is the affordability becomes the major aspect here. So commercialization of health. Then come corruption and bribery. Mainly corruption and bribery deals with the public healthcare system. Public healthcare in a system. It's a very known, even if you go to a, government hospitals, and especially district hospitals, and even the group D employees, they expect some kind of financial incentive. So it is very much visible. So corruption and bribery is there, and even pharmaceuticals, and even to some extent, even some of the doctors also involved, in nurses also involved in it. I'm not telling that everybody, but there is a level of corruption is there. There is a level of exploitation is there. So corruption and bribery is another ethical issue here, and shortage of medical infrastructure, shortage like the accessibility factor, and this directly deals with a value that is fair distribution, unfairness. So another ethical challenge is unfairness. So it's not easily available for a urban areas. It is quite easy to find a healthcare facility, even the free healthcare facility, the government healthcare facility. But the case is not the same for a remote areas or a rural area, where it is quite difficult to find. And even if there is an infrastructure, you don't have a human service, a human resources, and people are not ready to work in the remote areas also. So there is a shortage of medical infrastructure, there is a shortage of medical personnel also. So it clearly deals with one value, that is unfairness in Indian medical system or Indian healthcare. Then comes professional responsibility and duty of care. It deals with a medical negligence. See, if I am dedicated, if I am committed to my work, then I am going to give my 100%. Here, I know that I am going to get 2 lakh salary per month as a government doctor, and I'm really not worried whether I'm giving the best treatment to the patient or anyhow I get the salary and I'll be here from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. That's my job. I'm not related to any other aspect. Basic I'll give, basic medicines I'll give. But this is what medical negligence is. You don't care. There is no compassion, there is no empathy, there is no dedication, commitment to your work. All you want is you're getting some kind of incentive, financial incentive. So that is fine. So this kind of attitude is there. The professional irresponsibility is there, and you don't consider this as a duty of care. Duty of care is one of the ethical values here. You don't. It is your responsibility. It is your medical ethics to care for a patient, but you're not doing it. You don't consider it as a responsibility. You don't consider it as your duty to give best treatment to the patient. So you're not fulfilling your responsibility, you're not fulfilling your uh, duty. So medical negligence is another ethical issue we see in Indian healthcare. And then affordability, I talked about accessibility, affordability, quality. And again, the principle of affordability, that is also another ethical issue, because there is no affordability, it directly going to impact the human dignity. So the value of human dignity, it is compromised because there is no affordability factor. Again, then lack of confidentiality, the patient doctor confidentiality, the value of trust, that is also compromised. So many cases it's there, it is compromised, the doctor patient confidentiality. Then comes unethical clinical trials, even from the pharmaceutical industry or from a healthcare sector also. Unethical clinical trials or misguided clinical trials or non-transparent clinical trials. This is also been conducted in our country. So many cases, so many news articles you might have seen. So unethical clinical trials is also another very important ethical issues. One of the ethical issue we are seeing in Indian healthcare. So these are ethical issues in Indian healthcare. And what are the ethical solution to it? How do you deal with it? The first and foremost, again, the affordability, accessibility, and the quality. Again, focus on these things. So how do you deal with that? How do you do that? By making sure equitability. So equitability, the equitable healthcare, it is going to ensure better affordability, better accessibility, and good quality of healthcare services. Then ethical conduct of healthcare professional, the duty of care, professional responsibility. Ethical conduct ensures all these: professional responsibility, professional accountability, and the duty of care. So ethical conduct of healthcare professional, service orientation. See, more the commercialization happens in a sector, the service orientation, the objective of seva, the principle of seva, it is compromised here. So now if the service orientation or the concept of seva, concept of dedication, commitment, compassion is there, it is going to turn services into it is going to turn medical system or medical services to a service orientation. And then respect for human dignity. If you respecting human dignity, all these unethical clinical trials or the corruption in the um, healthcare system, exploitation, all these things, or the negligence, medical negligence, all these things can be eliminated if there is a factor for factor for human dignity. Then compassionate caregiving, this is also very much important, because it's not the physical vulnerability, it is also psychological vulnerability for a patient. So compassionate empathetic caregiving is also very much necessary for a recovery or revival of a patient physical phenomena. So compassionate caregiving, and then social responsibility. So I have certain social responsibility as a citizen of a country. So even whether I'm a doctor, whether I'm a nurse, or whatever it is, I have to fulfill my social responsibility also as a citizen of a country beyond all these my professional identities. Then another aspect is medical ethics. So ensure the medical ethics, ensure everybody in that particular hospital are given ethical training regarding this medical ethics. So these are some of the ethical solutions needed for Indian healthcare system, right? Let's move to the next article. The next article is with respect to abortion. And see here, if you look at the news article, should the abortion law be amended for minor rape victims? I'm not going to get into this the uh, the core focus of this news article. What I'll do is we will focus on abortion law. For that matter, very precisely abortion, because in the first unit you have applied ethics, and in that applied ethics, euthanasia, abortion, all these kind of bioethics, medical ethics, they question comes on these. Usually what happens, if the topic is given, you have to take a stand. Either you say yes to abortion or you say no to abortion. So whatever the stand you take, you have to give reasons. There is no 100% right option, there is no 100% wrong option. If you say yes to abortion, you have to give reasons, and if you say no to abortion, you have to give reasons. See, if I'm saying yes to abortion, it means that there are various approaches. We have deontological approach, teleological approach, rights based approach, justice approach. These kind of different approaches are there, and you take a stand. I'm supporting abortion because there is a right for the fetus. So based on right based approach, I am supporting it. I am rejecting approach because killing an individual, this goes against deontological ethics. So because of deontological ethics, I oppose the abortion. I am not in favor of it. Or value based approach or justice based approach, whatever the stand you take, you have to give the explanation. See, even if you look at it around the world, so many countries, abortion, it is very much restricted. Few countries, European countries, especially in the Nordic countries, abortion is completely prohibited, and they say that even fetus has a right. So few countries it is prohibited. Few countries it is uh, you can go for abortion. Yes, legally, yes, it is option is there. And India, it is regulated. You can go to abortion up to few months, maybe 22 weeks, something like that. After that, it is judiciary that enters. Judiciary is going to take a decision. So there is a regulated approach towards abortion in our country. Now it is up to you. Either you say yes, give reasons. Either you say no, give reasons. Or there is a regulated approach, give reasons. Whatever the stand you take, you should have a proper reason for it. This is applied ethics. And most of the question comes on these lines only. You should keep these things in your mind, that you have to give examples and you have to give proper explanation also. So here let us talk about abortion. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to take a stand. I'm not going to say yes or no. Here it is up to you. You take a stand. Now what I do is I talk about ethical dilemmas in abortion. So now you think of these ethical dilemmas and you take a decision. Conclusion is, now what are the ethical dilemmas here? The first is right to life and right to choice. What is right to life? Right to life of a fetus. And right to choice is with the women. Women, it's her body and she can make a choice. But here there is a right to life. So fetus, it has life. Now these are, there is a dilemma here. So which one do you prioritize here? Do you give more priority to a right to fetus, right of a fetus, or do you give more priority to freedom of a woman here? So my body, my right, my choice. So do you give more rights to it, or do you give more rights to the fetus? There is a dilemma. Whatever option you take, you choose, you are going to compromise some or other value system. So there is ethical dilemma. And then personal decision. See, I want to go for abortion, but in my society, entire social understanding is something negative towards abortion. Again, told you regarding Nordic countries where society is not in favor of abortion, and even some of the religious beliefs also, they are against the abortion, and they think that it is a god gift and you don't have anything to do with it. So cultural, religious, social beliefs one side, and the personal decision another. So there is a clash, there is a dilemma. This is a second. And the third dilemma here is that, see, if the pregnancy is continued, it is going to threaten the mental health of a woman and physical health of a woman. And even in this article, if we talk about, it is minor rape victims. In these kind of situation, how do you deal with it? So again, right of a fetus and all the mental condition or psychological aspect or a physical aspect of a woman. That also another dilemma here. Yes, yes, you have to take care of all these aspects also. When psychological factor also matters a lot. Being mother is a very big responsibility, and women should be ready to accept that responsibility also. So this is another ethical dilemma. Then usually what happens after the, usually once in a while there will be scanning of a pregnant woman, and the doctor get to know that is there, are there any abnormalities. are there any stunted growth or something, these kind of abnormalities or disability, if there is a severe disability, usually they suggest for abortion. This is one thing. Now the question is that you are aborting a fetus because of disability. Now this goes against the disability rights. Now you are downgrading the life of a disabled person, and here you're compromising the value of dignity, you're compromising the quality of life of a disabled person here. So again, there is a dilemma here. One side, doctor is giving you suggestion because there is a severe disability in the fetus, but you are you are saying yes to abortion because of the disability, directly questions the dignity factor or a disability rights of a person with disability. So again, this is a dilemma here. And constitutional there is a constitutional rights, and it has given certain fundamental basic rights, and there are medical legal rights that has given certain rights for a woman on her body, and there are religion, the socially accepted norms are religious issues. All these things come, and the social cultural aspect. Now how do you take this decision? Constitution is saying something, and medical law it is saying something, and social, religious, cultural aspect it is saying something. Now how do you make a decision here? So again, this also there is a dilemma. And then medical ethics of doctors. See, I am a doctor. Now I have taken a oath that I am going to, the reason I'm becoming a doctor is to save the lives. But here what am I doing? Abortion. I'm taking a life here. I've become a doctor to save a life, but here what am I doing? I'm taking a life. So this goes against my oath. So there is a dilemma here, even for the doctor also. So medical ethics of a doctor also that question some of the value system here. So these are some of the ethical dilemmas with respect to abortion. Again, what I told you, it is applied ethics. So these kind of topics, it is up to you. Whatever the stand you take, give the reasons. I support abortion because it is right based. So women has their rights, and these kind of maybe teleological reason, and because of deontological reason, killing is bad. So I don't support. So whatever the stand you take, you give proper reasons. So this is with respect to abortion. And the next article, it's regarding Operation Sindoor. It's a symbol of India's new military ethos. The defense minister has given a statement. Now, what I focus here is the military ethics. I'm not going to talk about Operation Sindoor. I'm not going to talk about SCO, all these conference, nothing. And no, I'm not going to talk about the press details given by defense minister. Nothing. Here, what I talk about is military ethics. Right. Again, it comes under applied ethics only. The medical ethics, bioethics. Uh, in that list of applied ethics, you can add military ethics also. So let's talk about military ethics. So military ethics, it the basic definition is the moral principles and standards that guide the conduct of armed forces. So that the ethics are the values and the standards, procedures that guide. These are the moral principles, moral standards, acceptable norm that guide the behavior of armed forces, decision making, uh, aptitude of armed forces. So this is medical ethics. So what are the medical ethics? Dedication is the very purest, very important medical. Sorry, military. I'm sorry, I'm talking about military ethics. But here it is. Uh, I use the word medical ethics, so it's military ethics. Military ethics. The first and foremost value is the dedication. As an example, you can give an example of Siachen Glacier. See how much money you can offer to a person, but stationed in a Siachen Glacier to that extreme weather, it's only due to the pure dedication, the honest uh, emotion towards country, or to give that service to the country, to protect the people of the country. That is dedication. It's a pure dedication. You cannot equate with anything. No amount of money, no amount of recognition can give this kind of dedication. So military ethic, the first is dedication, and then courage is very important aspect, especially for the armed forces. Along with that, discipline also. Discipline in your conduct, discipline to listen what your superior says. So discipline in difficult situation, courage in difficult situation, strict discipline in difficult situation. And next value comes with respect to human rights, respecting the human rights. Human rights, I mean to say that civilians, non-combatants, you have to respect their human rights, you have to respect their human dignity. So that is another value, another military ethics. Then comes the just theory war, you know that you've discussed so many times. So just use of, you cannot use the non-proportional use of force to, on innocent people, on civilians, on non-combatants. This goes against the military ethics. So always, if there is a usage of force, it has to against the opposition armed forces, not against the uh, common people, not against the civilians, not against the non-combatant population. So just use of force, it is another value, another military ethics. Then sacrifice and selflessness, again along with dedication, commitment, sacrifice. Sacrifice that I am here, even if I die, I don't care, but I am going to serve my country. That is a kind of commitment, that is kind of sacrifice we see in the armed forces. And again, whatever the service I give, it has to be selflessness in nature. So these are some of the values. Sorry, these are some of the values that are very much necessary for military. This is military ethics. And yes, there are dilemmas also. What are the ethical dilemmas in military? One thing, obedience, discipline, all these things we talked about in the last slide. Discipline, obedience to your superior, this is one thing. Another thing, conscience. So if you look at the stories of a Second World War, the orders given by various countries, the military heads, they were extremely inhuman. So the soldiers, they were not happy doing it, but still they followed, because there is a discipline in military, the armed forces, and there is a obedience in armed forces. So one side obedience, another side conscience. So conscience versus obedience, one ethical dilemma. Next ethical dilemma is national security. See, I want to protect my country, that is one thing. But at the same time, by doing that, I'm compromising the individual rights. Especially, there was a case study where this kind of ethical dilemma was there. Question was that how do you deal with these kind of individual rights, individual freedom with national security? How do you deal with that? These kind of case studies usually comes. So national security one side, individual rights another side. How do you deal with these kind of situations? And see, there is an argument, even these people, especially left wing, they say that there is an argument that they also belong to the country, only they are the citizens of the country. How can we how can you take such a cruel stand against them? This is one side of argument. Another side of argument, of course they are threat to the national security. What else can you do? How do you deal these kind of situations? So again, this is ethical dilemma. And then civilian safety and military success. Sometimes what happens, there are collateral damages. So it is very difficult to control, quite in few situations. Now, how do you deal with that? Military, the failure of this military operation, this is going to cost again lives of civilian in future. So now, if you don't take that step, you're going to compromise with the civilian safety. So how do you deal with that? Civilian safety and military success. So some compromise, it's there. These kind of dilemmas also very much visible. And then war versus peaceful resolution. Certain section of people, they support war as a way to find the peace in a long run. And some of the people, even within the government also, they go for a, they want to have a dialogue and discussion, so peaceful resolution. And this is also a dilemma, even within military also, even within the armed forces also. There are two ideologies where some people say that it is impossible to find a solution through the uh, arms and ammunition. So what we can do, we have to sit and find a solution. But some think that it is dialogues and these kind of the discussions, it is never going to find a solution. So ultimately, the strength, the power, that is going to ensure the peace in a long run. So this is another ethical dilemma. And patriotism versus universal humanity. When Rabindranath Tagore, he talked about international the brotherhood, the concept of universal humanity. Here, I am protecting my country. So value system is the patriotism. But me being patriotism, I am killing person belong to another country. So here, universal humanity. So I'm compromising it in order to protect my country. I'm servicing my country, but at the same time I am compromising with universal humanity, I'm compromising with human right, the basic human. So again, there is a dilemma. So these are some of the ethical dilemmas we see in military. These are ethical dilemmas in military, in armed forces. So this is with respect to military. And the next article, it's what is the governor's role in hung assembly? Again, from political perspective, this article is there. But governor, the role or the position of governor is very much important. Ethically, he has to be neutral. But is he neutral now? A lot of discussions you might have seen in television, and so many editorials have come that partiality of, they've talked about partiality, biasness, or non-neutrality of governor. It has been questioned, it has been called out. So they've told that ruling parties misusing this office of governor here. These kind of articles, these kind of news debates we have seen a lot. Now let us see the ethical role of a governance. What are the ethical values or ethical uh, the the I think the ethical values or ethical scenarios the governor has to uphold. So the important ethical role for a governor is to, he has to maintain the democracy, has to hold the constitutional value, and he has to ensure the cooperative federalism. So you are sitting in the as a governor, whether it is legislator. Uh, sorry, it's I got confused with speaker. So it's governor, and yes, you have to make notes for speaker also. Speaker, chairman, governor. So here let's talk about governor. So here governor usually is considered as an agent of central government, and they question the credibility, and they question the behavioral conduct of governor. So many state government, they say that it is, they are directly a proxy of central government, and this, they are just acting as a some kind of disruptive power in the working of state government. Now, what are the ethical values, ethical role of governor? First thing is he has to maintain the constitutional morality, the response, the the DPSP, fundamental rights. These things have to be protected, and it is one of the, this protection of these things is also one of the responsibilities of governor. Protect the constitutional morality. Political neutrality is very much important. If there is a hung assembly, if there is some kind of political manipulation, then you take a decision. You are a major decision maker in a state, so it plays very important role. Uh, in the legislate in the state legislative, in the assembly. So you have to protect the neutrality, there should be unbiasedness, there should be a factor of impartiality, and then you have to encourage ethical governance. So ethical governance, and see, you are the decision maker regarding even with respect to defection, and there are so many aspects where you have a very strong role. So if you showcase that ethical behavior, it will lead to the ethical governance. So you have to encourage ethical governance by showcasing ethical behavior, and you have to promote the cooperative role. There should not be a disruptive role from a governor, and governor has a discretionary roles, and usage of these discretionary powers should be based on proper legal reasons, proper ethical reasons, proper constitution. It should be based on constitutional ethos. The ethical use of discretionary power, and whatever decision you take, whatever the actions you take, you should promote accountability, transparency, integrity, and citizen centric administration. And whatever the decisions you take, there should be a factor of fairness, there should be a factor of dedication. So these are some of the ethical values. uh, these values should be upheld by governor through his actions. So these are ethical roles of governor. I think this is it for the day, guys, and this is covered I think 7 or 8 articles. I'll see you guys in the next next video, where we are going to cover the 11th May to I think 20th May, next 10 days. And thank you so much for listening. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good day.